Kales, and I'm back and doing wrap-ups I forgot to do over the past 3 months. So, yes, I did my February wrap-up recently, and now I'm doing my March wrap-up for you. So let's just dive right into it, shall we? The first book that I read in March of this year was Midnight at the Bright Ideas Bookstore, and the reason that I read this was because it was written by a former employee at the bookstore I work at, and the bookstore, the Bright Ideas Bookstore, is based off the bookstore, Chowder Cover, that I work at, and that's super cool. But I didn't like this book. It's a mystery, and it was fine. I gave it a 2 out of 5 stars. I just was like, I was not impressed. The ending was not at all what I was not intrigued. It was really hard for me to get through. Like, I just remember listening to it and being like, when is this gonna end? I kind of knew where it was going, and it was just not as exciting as I wanted it to be. It was nerdy, I guess, for a book lover. I don't know, it just wasn't my favorite. And then I read one of the most terrible books I've read all year, and that was Pride and Prometheus, which I picked up this one. I told you guys that this was an arc that I had picked up because I was intrigued because it's Frankenstein and Pride and Prejudice, where Mary Bennett falls in love with Dr. Frankenstein. No, this is just stupid. Like, I thought maybe this would be like a really cool fanfic. This just was crap. It was so bad, guys. It was so bad. This is so bad. I can't, it's so bad it was almost comical. Like, don't even bother picking it up. It doesn't make any sense. They just are like forcing their way through this. Also, it's told from 3 different perspectives, including the monster's perspective, and he like wants a bride. And so they like take Kitty Bennett's body to become Frankenstein's bride. Guys, it's just so stupid. Just don't even bother. It's almost laughable. And I can't even talk about it with a serious face because it's so bad. But then I went from one of the worst books I read to one of the best books. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. Children of Blood and Bone is amazing. It's so good. Talk about a fantasy world that like sucks you in, okay? And I gotta be honest, I thought it was a little Avatar-y. Not the blue people, the Avatar, the last animated show. And which is not bad. I love that show. I just was like getting little hints of it. I was like, I wonder, but holy crap. Such a good story. Tommy's words and her language just, oh, it makes me want to melt. It was so good, so intriguing. The character development was just breathtaking in this world, and I just want the next one. Guys, this is one of my favorite books that I've read by far this year. Like, I still just, it was so good. So good. I have really nothing more to say about it than you should just go pick it up and read it. Then I read Brown Girl Dreaming by Jacqueline Woodson, which was really good. I enjoyed this one. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. It's told in verse. It's kind of a autobiography by Jacqueline Woodson about growing up as a young woman of color in the 60s, and it was really interesting. I liked it. I learned a lot. I can understand why they read it in schools and why it won all these awards, because it's pertinent and amazing and a different voice. I think I struggled with some of the storytelling because it didn't feel like coherent to me. I struggled with knowing where we were in her life, and that was hard, and it might have just been verse. I'm not well versed in reading verse, pardon the pun there. I'm not, and so I'm trying to be by reading Kwame Alexander, Jason Reynolds, Jacqueline Woodson. I'm trying to be more well versed in verse. I just am not a big fan of it, and so it was hard for me to follow at points. Still really enjoyed it though. Then I read this massive beast of OBSIDIO, which was so good. Oh my gosh, another 5 out of 5 stars. Talk about an amazing ending to this trilogy. Seth and I, who's also read this trilogy, were just like, what? This is the final book in the Illuminate Files trilogy, told in our favorite hacker format, and oh gosh, it's not as big as Gemina, I think, the couple I wasn't as like sucked into. I was really wanting more of the other couples that we'd fallen in love with, but how he intertwined the stories was great, and the art by Marie Lu is fantastic, and Amy and Jay just did such a good job with this one, and I was so impressed and just happy that the quality stayed throughout the entire series. I firmly believe that. fight me. You can come at me, but I think all 3 books were just as good. Like, they maintained their status quo of quality, and it was great. I love this series. March was such an up and down reading month. Allison and I decided that we wanted to read that Inevitably Victorian thing for our buddy read for the month of March, which, if you don't know, on my podcast, YYYA, with my friend Allison, we do a buddy read every month. This book sucked. And I laid into it on the podcast. So if you really want to hear like my full 100% thoughts on this, go ahead, have at it. Listen to the podcast, because I didn't know what was going on. The world was stupid. The conflict didn't exist. There was no character development. I don't know what the stakes were. The entire time I was reading, I was like, why do I care whether these people like have anything in their lives? They're so elitist, and just the world didn't make any sense. It was like this weird combination of like Victorian England and genetically modified futuristic crap, and I I was not about it. And that ending, oh god, it was so bad. I would not have finished it if I didn't have to read it for our buddy read. I would have DNF'd the crap out of this book. Needless to say, it was a 1 out of 5 stars. I did not like it. Go listen to the podcast for the full rant. Then I read a really interesting, fun book called Notes from a Public Typewriter, which is about a bookstore in Ann Arbor that has a public typewriter out, and it's a collection of all the notes that people left on the typewriter. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars because I thought it was endearing and beautiful and just a great little collection about humanity, which sounds silly, but it literally will take you like 6 minutes to read the whole thing. The owner of the bookstore tells about how the typewriter got there and how they become famous for typewriters, and it's amazing. And I want to go visit the bookstore, and I just love all the stories, how people have been proposed to, how they confess things on that typewriter, how they come out on that typewriter. Like, it's just, it's a great little piece of humanity, and I love that they documented it. I think it's really beautiful. Then I read a really dumb book, and I was sad because I thought it'd be really good, and it wasn't. And it's called Ladykillers, and it was like 12 deadly women serial killers throughout history, and this was just dumb. Like, it was so, all this conjecture, and it was like not even cool serial killers. It was just like from the past, and they were like, we're not even really sure if these are true. I was just not impressed. I gave it a 2 out of 5 stars. Because, I mean, I guess it's research, but it just was not interesting. I thought it'd be, like, true crime and super cool, and I've been really interested in, like, small town murder lately and true, you know, and crime TV shows. I'm finally reading a mystery right now, but I was just not impressed, and I was sad that I was not impressed. So, there's that. Oh my gosh, I forgot how much I read this month. Then I read All of This Is True, which was a really interesting read. I don't think it has come out yet still, maybe, or it's coming out soon. I've got an arc of it, and it's told in a bunch of like journal entries, IM messages, transcripts, texts, a bunch of things, and it's about 4 friends that befriend their favorite YA author, who then turns their like stories and lives and tragedies into a book, and it's kind of like the aftermath of all of that, and I thought it was really interesting. However, I have heard so many different opinions about this book. I thought it was really good. The children's book buyer at the bookstore was like, no, this sucks, and I've talked to other people that are like, you're crazy, and other ones that are like, oh my god, it's brilliant. So it's a really polarizing novel, and I'll be interested to see what other people think when it actually comes out, because I really liked it. I thought it was good. I like couldn't put it down, and I finished it in like maybe 2 days because of the format, and other people are like, oh my god, I can barely get through it. So I don't know, you tell me. Then I read Herding Cats by Sarah Scribbles, who always gets a 5 out of 5 stars from me because she's hilarious and amazing, and I would just Snapchat all of the comics to my sister, and I love Sarah Scribbles, I do. I also liked her bit at the end about being an artist and, you know, adulting, and I love her little insights, you know, and how she talks about, you know, our world and the society that we're in today and how hard it is and just how upsetting it is and disheartening, and instead she just kind of gives you a little bit of laughter and a little bit of hope, and you can't really ask for anything more than that, and Sarah Scribbles is really, really good at it. Then I read Pashmina, which was another graphic novel, and I gave this one a 2 out of 5 stars because I thought it was really interesting. I enjoyed the concept of like women becoming their own and like living out their dreams through this Pashmina and this young girl, you know, and her connection to her mother, but it fell flat for me. Like, I thought the concept was really cool, but the way it was told was just kind of uninteresting. That's just me. It was really magical and it's beautifully drawn. I thought it was beautiful, but it's just kind of like, eh. The last book that I read in the month of March, yeah, I'm almost done here, was The Boy from Tomorrow, which when I read it had not come out yet, but now it is out. And this was a really interesting middle grade that I read about these two kids who live in the same house but 100 years apart. And what I found really interesting about this book was that they dealt with a lot of serious issues. Like the boy who's in our time, it was going through his parents' divorce, and the girl from 100 years ago is dealing with her mother's fallout because she is a psychic and abuse. And I thought that that was just really heavy for middle grade, but I also thought really important, and it's about their friendship over time. They communicate via Ouija board, and then they communicate via gramophone, which was weird, but that's okay. And the ending was a little odd for me, but I loved the time travel aspect, I loved the friendship, and I loved that it actually dealt with serious topics and about like taking charge of your own life and the friendships that can help you do that. So I really enjoyed this book. I'm gonna keep it, and I recommended it at the bookstore because I thought it was really good. It's rather different from most middle grades I've read. Guess what, guys? I'm done with this video, and these are some of the books, just 5 of the many I read in March. And yes, I'm gonna be doing April next, which I promise will be a lot shorter than my March one. Anyway, let me know what you thought of these books, the books that I read in March. I'd love to have the conversation with you. Until next time, guys. Bye! So yes, I'm not zoomed in as I once was.